It is now time to go into a dimension where few dare to tread, because it's inside the head of one of the greatest NFL long snappers, if not the greatest. Should have his head made out of bronze. Instead, it's been made of butter, I believe, perhaps. This is Starstruck, and you are now about to hear the voice of one Michael J. Morris.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. That's Jim Rich, everyone, by the way. And that was well done, because only someone that knows that I played for the Vikings would have given me Michael J., the initial J. Only a true Viking, someone in the media, one of my own teammates would have known there was a Michael J. in there anywhere. So anyway, off we go. And you know, everyone out there knows that I set up last week by saying that we had a guest that I expected to join and was hoping that, you know, we could confirm that. Well, we did, because he's here. The guest, of course, being the gentleman that I live right next to down in Prior Lake, and that as the story will be told again, and not only from my perspective to set it up, but from Tom Meacham's perspective also, since he was on the other end of it. And of course, you all know, after a couple of episodes of telling that, I'm talking about the Crossbow story, where you'll see. I'm going to set this up again.
All right.
One quick summary of what happened. Really quick, because the other side of this deserves to be given more time than mine. So I'm training. I do for a living. I train people out of my home. Got a 3-car garage stacked to the gills with iron and weightlifting equipment, and I train people, high school, collegiate athletes. Sometimes I'll get a professional guy in there from time to time. Men and women of all ages come in and train.
You're talking it down, though. Go back in time. Some of the greatest in the National Football
I've had
League
some really. I had Matt Burke for 13 years in there. I had Jim Kleinsaucer and Chris Hovan for years. Todd Stussy for probably 7 years. Brock Lesnar for 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
So I've
you're making it sound like, I got a couple barbells. And, we just kind of throw things around.
I've got some good ones. I've got a couple good ones. Maybe a first, second, or third round draft choice prospect from next year at the U. Devin Eastern, the big defensive tackle. Yes. I've had him for 4 years. And then, of course, we just got signed and sealed Nick Callerup from the U as a tight end with the Seattle Seahawks. Just got that done this time around. Okay, so let people know I really try and do something constructive and with decent enough results that I can keep doing it. However, there was a point in time last October, I think, October-ish, where I'm training one of the brothers of a guy that I've had for 4 or 5 years who's at River Falls playing tight end out of Chaska, Eric Spielberger. He deserves to be mentioned because he's an idiot. And that's why I'm going to tell it that way. And he will be listening for sure. I guarantee it. So the idiot surprises us by stopping in because they don't have a game that week, and he wants to just blow in there on a Friday evening, not having a Saturday game, and saying hi. His brother is in there training with me, who also goes to school at the U. He's not a football player, but he's a good athlete. So Eric comes by, and he's got a box of donuts, just to be a smart ass, which he is. He thinks it's funny to bring a box of donuts to the gym, to the weight room, where maybe that's frowned upon. You know, you don't eat that way. But he thinks it's funny, so he's sitting there eating donuts, and then he remembers that from summer I was going to order a Crossbow to just put up targets and go. I've had them before in the past, and I have shot them in the country, not in the city, at targets, not homes, but target practice out in the country somewhere, usually at a farm somewhere. He asked me if I gotten it yet. I had it for like 3 months, sitting in my kitchen on the floor, open in the box, and I'm too frustrated to even look at it and put it together because it had to be assembled. He says, I'll assemble it because he's a smart guy. I'll have no trouble putting it together. Let me build it. Well, let's do it right now. I said, well, go inside. I've got your brother in here, for God's sakes. Get it on, bring it down. I don't care. You can tinker with it and see if you can get it together. I mean, because it had directions from hell to put it together. I mean, from hell to put together. That's why it just sat there. I was almost too tired coming in from the whole day to even want to do it. So he starts putting it together, and it takes him an hour and a half to put that damn thing together. And then, of course, the question comes up, can we test fire it? Can we try it? And you never know. I mean, the numbskull may not have put it together right.
Right.
And so we'll see if it's even operable. Well, I'll take a shot with it. Can't do it outside. It's dark outside. May as well shoot it in here. Right, Tom? So I line this shot up. I have a board in front of it. I'm trying to hit the stud in the garage. It's a 3-car garage. It's got a dummy tip on it. It's got a training tip on it.
Okay.
I think it's like a 215-pound bow. Not the biggest thing in the world at all by any means. I've had a bigger one like 315, 350. We can talk about that all day. But what happened with this one is what I'm going to tell you. I shot it and it went through my garage. And then we lost it. He's got the videotape. Eric does. He wanted to videotape me doing it. And we're looking for the arrow on the videotape. Like, where'd it go? Where'd it go? I'm thinking, did it glance off of something and like end up behind the weights somewhere? Or like, where'd we miss it? And Eric says then, the light just came on next door. The light is on. It was dark outside. And he said the light came on. And I think your neighbor's coming down from upstairs. And I start to panic. Like, where did it go? It went through the wall. It went through a double pane glass, I think Anderson window on a sliding glass door, and continued across the room of what looked like a den into a wall on the other side of that room. And I wouldn't have even known that had the neighbor not come down and told me where it ended up. But he did. He came walking outside, and I hear this voice. And it's Tom saying, Mike, what's going on over there? I've got an arrow inside my house downstairs. And when you're asked a question like that, middle of the night, I'm so tired, I want to go inside and just have a hamburger with my damn dog and just relax and kick back and watch River Monsters or something. Anything, like anything. I didn't want to shoot the bow. I didn't want to build the bow for 3 months. But I've got a guy saying, I've got an arrow in my house. What's going on over there? And the only thing you can say at that point is, that was me. That was me. No other way you can come back from that. It's not like, oh yeah, there are like drive-bys going on, Tom, and like people are shooting through the garage too. They must have got you too. So that's pointless. So I just said, it was me. We built a crossbow tonight in my garage and I fired it. That's all I had. And he says, what things happen? The guy, and I'm going to let him kind of take over from here, but he must have been holding back everything to keep from like losing it right there on me. And he just says, stuff happens like that.
Oh yeah.
I've had stuff happen to me in the past. And he said, maybe you taught those two guys over there a lesson of things maybe they shouldn't do. He let me off, and oh my God, I'm shaking like a leaf. But look, enough of that. I've told that story 3 times now, and you've shared the story with Randy, right?
Oh yeah.
And he thought what? Ridiculous, right?
Yes.
Because it is.
Yes, Randy Meyer, he listened to it numerous times on his way home. Ian Leonard has listened to it, and like, what was he even thinking?
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking the only crossbow I had was a pretty powerful one that I bought with Sean Patterson, one of the Green Bay Packers. We used to live in Arizona together, so we bought one for like jackrabbit hunting and blah, blah, blah. And it was easily more powerful than this was, tension-wise. It was a crossbow. and he and I shared it. So I know I've shot these things, and it had this one had a blunt tip, and we'll have people vouch for that. I thought it'd be safe to put it in a stud of the side of my garage, and then we go pull it out with pliers, and like, yeah, it works. Go inside. Goodbye, guys. Didn't happen that way. So I'm going to introduce Tom again, Tom Meacham, my next door neighbor, who decided that because I invited him to come over, instead of just talking about this kind of stuff at the trash barrels like we do, like we'll every now and then just see each other putting trash out or letting the dogs out. And Tom will say, how's it going, Mike? And I almost want to just like, it's fine. Everything's fine. I put down the crossbow. I'm not shooting anymore. I didn't take it up as a sport. And we get kind of a chuckle out of it. But trust me, it is not funny. What happened was not funny. It was not funny. It's just the kind of story that needs to be told. So, Tom, you were upstairs that night. Yep. And go ahead and...
You got to talk into that, Tom.
And first of all, tell us what you do for a living.
I'm retired right now.
Okay. And it's interesting what you did for a living, though.
My wife and I have a business that builds giant inflatables, and they can be used for stage displays, museum pieces, and sports. We've built the tunnel for the Chicago Bears, the Bearhead, when they come running through.
Wow.
So that's the kind of stuff that we work on.
Wow.
So it's incredible. So you retired from that. Nothing happened where you were ever close or in peril's way, in danger of anything. You made it through this entire time to be lucky enough, fortunate enough to be retired at your home in Prior Lake.
That's right. That's right. When all hell breaks loose.
When all hell,
you have to talk right into this so everybody can hear you.
So
first, I have a question.
Go ahead.
You're here on your own, right?
Yeah.
You can blink one eye. He can't see that right eye, and I can call somebody here without him knowing.
The court date's coming up.
I figured as much, and I deserve it. The fact is I absolutely flat out deserve it. But tell the story. What time of night do you think it might have been?
I thought it was about 8:30.
Yeah,
and
it was dark.
I was watching TV, and I have 2 yellow labs that were in the main room.
Main room being upstairs or downstairs?
Well, on the regular floor, main floor. Yeah.
Kind of where it came in.
Right.
That level.
The point of entry. So I'm watching TV. All of a sudden, I hear this explosion. And I'm like, whoa, that was a big noise. And I walk out into that room from the den that I was in watching TV. And all I see is glass everywhere. And the dogs are sitting there kind of looking at me going, what was that? And so I put them upstairs away from the glass. And then I came back.
We should mention real quick. You're married and you have kids.
Yeah, I've got 3 kids.
And were they just gone for the night?
It was just me and the dogs home.
And they were gone.
My wife was out. So I'm cleaning up the glass first because, I can't let the dogs back out. And I did turn the light on the patio to see what was going on outside, because here's a sliding glass door that's just open, wide open. And I did come over to Mike's in the backyard, and I'm like, hey, Mike, what's going on? Not having a clue what just happened. I didn't even know the arrow was in the wall.
I mean, really, honestly, I thought you said there's an arrow in my wall or in my house.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So when I meet Mike, he gave me the answer I was looking for. I knew what happened at that point. But before that, I was thinking it was, some kids out horsing around. And the neighborhood is pretty quiet. We don't have that type of disturbance normally. But
certainly not that type, no.
I mean,
some disturbance, not that type.
Having kids, things happen. And I've probably done 1 or 2 things that I wouldn't want to come back and describe. But, nobody got hurt, which was the amazing part, because the 2 dogs are sitting right there. And where the arrow came through, and it basically deflected off the grid panels within the doors, and that deflected it up into the wall, because it went up about a foot
Yeah.
on the wall.
Yeah.
But from where Mike's garage is, I would say it's probably 2 feet taller than that. So it went down and then ricocheted
Correct.
back up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly.
But yeah, it shook me up.
Oh. I would think that's very, you downplayed that one for sure, just by saying that much. But I was shaking. I was shaking because I knew it ended up in someone's house. I was shaking like a leaf, and I thought, this is the worst one yet. I've had a few things happen in the past where, you question. This one, I decided to do it.
Yeah.
And I decided to actually do it. And I thought it'd be safe. And it was wrong, completely wrong. And you get this then. And so I'm sitting there going, that is something that could have been as serious as you could possibly imagine. And I don't know if you use the Hy-Vee in Savage ever at all, but there's one of the big police officers that watches the place from time to time, Officer Swanson. Do you see him in there? He's a bald-headed guy, big guy.
Yeah.
I said, I've known him for a long time, so I've talked with him several times, and I told him the story. And then he said, well, I've seen and heard things like this before in the past where it doesn't end up like that.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm usually called in when it's much, much worse than that. And he wasn't amused by it, but he goes, oh, Mike, what were you thinking about? One of those deals. And he was right. But he said, and he was, and I just sit there and when I think about it, my breathing comes up. And I started thinking about it, and my breathing does come up. It does. It just still bothers me to this very day how bad I was shaking when I went inside. Actually, there's more to it. I went over to the house. I said, Tom, I've got to come over and talk to you, right? So I go over and knock on the door, and I'm waiting for him to answer the door with a shotgun. And that he's changed his mind about the whole thing, and he's more serious about it. But as it turned out, he and I just went in and we walked through everything, the mess and the debris and where it ended up in the wall, the whole 9 yards. And then, of course, he brings me back the arrow with drywall about halfway up. You can see the drywall all about halfway up the arrow. And, it was just amazing how, the reality of it came to just the shock was a little bit over, but now this is what really happened and what really could have happened. And I'm seeing it right in his house. And I said, how are we going to take care of this? There's going to have to be an insurance. I've got everything out of pocket, but what are you going to tell the insurance people? And what did you say?
I'm not going to turn it in. The cost of the window, Mike paid for it, so there's really no need to.
That was the size of it. So and I was obviously I'm more than happy to be able to do that instead of being turned in for being a complete felon of some sort of shooting a firearm in the city limits. Although I think you can with a crossbow. I haven't checked.
I think the biggest takeaway when I tell the story to other people, they're like, "You should have taken the crossbow."
You can have it. Right now. I can tell you if you want it, you can have it. You can have it. Just to take it out of his hands. He shouldn't have a crossbow, and it would be probably the smart thing to do. And whoever you said that to was brilliant. I should probably give it to you. So it is something that I felt needed to be discussed on both sides, and the fans and the listeners of this Starstruck podcast would get. Hopefully something out of it, not just the sort of there's an amusement level to it, but there really isn't. It's far more serious than that, far more. And I want people to know that. You just can't do or act on something so spontaneously and on impulse. You have to think it through again and again before you fire anything. I don't care. I don't care if it's in the city or out in the country. You have to think about where you're pointing something or shooting something, and you get to thinking more than you know, like I thought. And I can do a test shot into the wall and no harm done. Plenty of harm could have been done. And trust me, so have I learned from that? Yeah, that'd be an understatement as well. But I had to ask the part where I probably haven't asked you, what did your wife and kids think of this? So I haven't talked to them about this since it happened. I have not. We just sort of see each other coming and going.
I think the benefit is nobody was home. So there wasn't a lot of chaos developed because everybody's overreacting.
Yeah.
When I did tell Steph, my wife, she's just like, "Oh, okay, well, you've got it taken care of, right?"
That's amazing.
Again, it's just a small hole in the wall, which I finally fixed.
You did.
Yeah.
I had toothpaste. I could have come over and done that.
You didn't fix the hole?
I thought I'd ruin that for him too. I thought that I would ruin that for him as well. Like, I've already made the hole. Then you have me trying to
You
touch
should
it
have
up.
been over there with spackle that night.
Well, we can go into that and where I could have gotten some.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially with the connections and the great people you know. Why don't we pause this and you explain what you should have done that night or next morning when they open their doors, and you should have went to
4 locations: Pleachy's Ace Hardware, Zumbrota, Farmington, Rosemount, and Egan would have been the place, because Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks, as I've come to know. And I probably should have taken my advice by doing so in helping Mr. Meacham repair the damage in his home that I caused with a crossbow arrow. I mean, we took care of the windows. We can talk about the window store later sometime.
Yes.
But right now, Ace Hardware would be the thing to do, is like go up to one of the Pleachys. They've had the place for over 30-some years, and they would be glad to help you with crossbow patch up, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure they have a category for it there. And they would just say, look, here's the spackle, here's the sandpaper, here's the whatever. And we can match your paint. We can match the paint. Technically, we can match the paint to perfection. They've got specials there all the time on paint. They've got specials for their DeWalt power tools and Craftsman power tools, select types of these. $30 off discount on the DeWalt and $20 off on the select Craftsman. So if you should be dumb enough to do what I did, that would be a way to take care of that in the way of following up, okay? Do that. Ace Hardware, the Pleachy Ace Hardware stores, Zumbrota, Farmington, Rosemount, and Egan. And tell them the Superstar Mike Morris sent you. Or you don't have to call me Superstar in that case. But get on down there. They'll take good care of you.
All right. So my question is, you hear this noise. How did you know it came from that house?
I didn't, other than just the direction. There isn't anything between our two houses except grass. So it coming through that, I knew that it came from that direction. However, there's woods behind his house, and it could be anybody in the woods. And at that time of night, I mean, you could speculate all you want, but the fortunate thing was it wasn't just unexplainable, where you don't know where it came from.
That's a good point. I never thought of that.
You know,
I mean, it helps to know. Have peace of mind of knowing that some random guy off the street isn't driving by and just shooting a crossbow at your house.
right?
It's nice to know that Mike did it. You know? It's much more comforting to know that Mike did it, and
It's so much more.
it's expected.
Yeah.
Mike probably did it.
Yeah.
It doesn't even know yet, but sure enough.
So you see the hole,
Yeah.
and then you saw them walking around outside.
Oh no!
or where?
No, they weren't walking around. They were staying in the garage. And as I came out to the edge of the fence, a couple of them were standing out in front of the garage, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And they just kind of turned around and went back in the garage. And I'm like, "Mike, hey Mike, what's up?"
What's going on? And so I go out and I said, well, you know what? That was me. Let's just take all the gray matter out of this. Those, like Eric, the guy who built it, is chuckling. I wanted to kill him right on the spot. He's chuckling. It's funny for him. I thought, dude, you know what we could have done? And of course, Eric is so stupid. I hope you're listening. God, I hope you're listening. He's laughing. His brother is more quiet, really, really super quiet. So he didn't have too much to say. But anyway, so I felt like this had to, it merited both sides of the story, not to just hear mine.
Okay, so you come out, you say, Mike, what's going on?
Yeah.
Did you know the window was shattered over at his house at that time when he came out?
When I went out to the fence and met him there, he said, I've got an arrow in my house that went through my window.
No, he didn't know what it was at first.
At first, before I cleaned up, initially when I walked into the room, there was just glass.
Glass.
So first thing was to get the dogs out of the room so that they didn't get hurt. But when I came
might
back
load
down,
another one in there.
When I came back down with the shop vac, now I could assess better what was going on. Then I saw the arrow. In fact, I got a picture of it too.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt it. We tried to take a picture of it. We actually tried to take a video, and just funny enough, the arrow didn't stick around the shot for us to get that. It went through the wall. But it's just crazy because I'm watching.
So what did you say when you saw his window? So he came over, Mike, what's going on? And you're like, well, that was me. But you had no idea where it went because you guys thought it was in the garage somewhere still, I'm assuming, right?
Well, I was looking inside the garage for it. And Eric, after a minute or so, says, your neighbor's lights have come on, and I think they're coming downstairs. And at that point, my heart started to race. Because I knew then at that point something terrible had gone wrong, and that was the case. That was absolutely the case. So I go outside, and of course then Tom's voice is, Mike, what's going on over there? You may as well go out and face the fire, because that is no question coming from this house, the direction it was pointing, and there's no question that it was not probably just some guy firing out of his window through the garage, just missed us, right? And then through to Tom's house. No. Although I thought about saying that, but no, I didn't. You just have to face up to it real quick and just start getting to it. So start getting really comfortable with having uncomfortable conversation.
Your jaw just had to drop when you saw the window, and when you walked into his house, you're like, "Oh my god!"
I couldn't. I
you couldn't fathom that it would do that much damage.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it, based on the size of the crossbow, blah blah blah, and the tip on the arrow was. I mean, it was not a sharp tip, well, like a broad tip arrow that you would shoot when you were hunting. It's just a blunt tip for target practice. Dummy. Yeah. So anyway,
dummy. It was
a dummy. See, it was made just for me, and that's the story. And I think it makes a good episode of Starstruck Podcast to come out and just tell people what can really happen if you don't think. I mean, it's a funny little podcast from time to time. It's always fun and games, but then every now and then you need to sober up and humble it down a little bit and tell the real story sometimes too. All and right. That's what this is all about, is
Tom,
letting it out.
Did you know he was living there when you moved in, or were you there and he came?
I'm there and he's moved
okay,
in.
so you had no choice. This was not a choice to live next to this man.
This is the definition of you can't pick your neighbors.
Or the definition of there goes the neighborhood. That either of those could have been used. And in my case, I lived right up to it. But I want to thank you for being so understanding. I think it was an incredible person to be able to stand there and say, stuff happens. Right when it did happen. And I told the boys later, what did he say? Because they're already heading home. They don't want to be any part of it. And I said, this kind of thing happens. No, that was all he said. I said, yeah, pretty much. That's what he said. And I couldn't believe it. I appreciate you. I really do. That was big of you. That could have been much worse for me, even though no one was hurt. It could have still been much, much worse for me. So I do thank you for that break.
Sure.
And let me off the hook. But that's the story. That's from both sides of it. So that, you didn't think I was exaggerating or I wasn't telling all the truth or I wasn't. That is both sides of it verbatim. Okay. And that's kind of Starstruck. I have one more sponsor. If you want to turn and run,
right. If you are not a stand-up,
if you're not a stand-up guy and you're going to run from it, you'd want to get in your Dodge truck, like I have, from Dodge of Burnsville, and just skedaddle, as we used to say about 40 years ago. Skedaddle. You can get in one of those yourself. You can get into a Ram truck, new or used, or car, down at Dodge of Burnsville, right off Cliff Road, and 35W in Burnsville, coincidentally. And then you can go in and talk to Adam or Mark Saba. They are the upper management there, and you can talk to them, and they'll set you up and make you a great trade, and then put you on your course to owning a new vehicle or new used vehicle, and then having your back covered with good service to follow that up. do that. Get down there, Dodge of Burnsville, 35W in Cliff Road, and tell them the superstar Mike Morris sent you. Boom. Just like that.
All right, Tom. Are you going to increase the fencing between your property? Are you, instead of bulletproof glass, arrow-proof glass? What's the next step here? Or is the Caldwell Banker Realtor on the way over to your house right now?
I think we're going to go with the trust but verify scheme here. I don't think that Mike will pull any of that again.
You can darn well bet.
And I don't want to have
pull
to
that
train in
again.
a new neighbor.
Yeah.
You know,
Could end up with a new neighbor, my God. But, I think I'm going to give you the crossbow. You want a crossbow? I think I'm going to do what your friend suggested. Just ask him for the crossbow. You know, then it'll never happen.
Then you know where it is.
Yeah, it's in your holding.
asking for it's one thing. Taking it away is a whole lot better.
I think you have the authority and the right to take it away from me, like a small child. Just slap him on the hand and take the doggone toy away from him. But that is the story, and I don't know if it could be told any differently than that. It was something I was going to follow that up with, but that's the main thing. Is that every time I walk past, or up the driveway, or out to the trash can, at one point there was plywood covering the door, the whole door, for like several weeks until the people came and put the new door in. And so there were comments with Tom and I out at the barrels. I meet at the trash barrel, and right. I see his dogs, Lucy and Little, right?
Little and yeah.
And I'll say, "When's the door coming?" Or "How's the door hold? How's the new door? Is it working pretty cool? Your door good?" And it's so funny now. It's really funny, but I mean, it's just, oh my God, the guilt. Anyway, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate that. Tom Meacham, everybody, a stand-up kind of guy. And I wanted you to hear from him. And for Jim Rich and for myself, the superstar Mike Morris, and the crack staff over here, Brady Baller, this has been Starstruck. Tune in next week. Same time, same bat channel.